first of all, there's a few black solutions architects and forget about it because you're also a woman.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, oh, okay. So you don't necessarily have to be technical. So a business analyst can become a solutions architect.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So you don't look at specific, unlike where there's an application architect who would only look at the application that they're working with, right?
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Tech Sisters channel. Today, again, we have a guest. But first, I am Tobeka Shabalala, and I am with...
Nomfundo Ndala.
Welcome to Sibongile, Mailula.
Thank you.
So just a short bio of yours. She has 12 years experience in IT. Her experience lies in software development, IT system engineering, and solution design through solving business problems. And you're in the financial services sector. Welcome, and thank you for making time for us. So tell us more about yourself besides the work side of things. Yes.
Okay, I'm Sibongile. I'm from Palabura.
Okay.
And Limpopo, a township called Namahale.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm happily married and blessed with 2 kids.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, and I like indoor cycling.
Okay.
Kickbox and step.
Right.
Swimming as well. And yeah.
So you're a very active
Gym
person.
girly.
Yeah. So wait, you Betty?
I'm Zonga.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I know
Nice.
my name sometimes.
I know. Yeah, 'cause
Yes.
it's that one thing. If I tell people me if I'm lying about my name and I say I'm Lerat and they say, but you speak Zulu. I'm like,
Yes.
It's one of those.
Okay. All right.
And how did you get into tech? We're very interested in that one.
Okay. So after
sure.
matric, I applied for IT. So at that point, it was just IT,
Okay.
So I applied. I had to kind of first. I wanted to go into mining engineering because Palabra is actually a mining town.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's what I initially wanted to do. But then as I started researching, and then I realized actually I could do this. And one of my uncles influenced me to say, hey, there's this computer systems course that you could look into, just research it and find out what it's all about. And I did that. And yeah, I applied. And then that's how I got in. I applied, I studied. And then after my studies, I got an internship at one of the financial institutions in Pretoria. And then, yeah, the rest is history.
Nice.
Interesting. So, and then I think the interesting part is that you didn't know about it when you were in high school, which proves again that so many of us don't know about this field until it's time to choose careers.
Exactly. All you know is your doctors, your lawyers.
Teachers.
Now, we've always wanted to bring someone who's a solution architect because we've always thought, like, how do people get into being like a solution architect? And I think most of the time we've also spoken about how it's mostly like older people, like you'd find, your big, I don't want to say names, but yeah, like your older people and who've been in the industry for quite long. And we've also never seen or spoken to a female solution architect. So how did you stumble or how did you become, how did you get into this role?
Yeah, so how I got into it is I was a software engineer before that. So I specialized in Java and full stack development.
Okay.
So I saw as well, because as a developer, you work with architects, and there's only one, and there was never an architect that looked like me.
Okay.
So you worked with them, and then I found that job very interesting. And I remember the one time when in my previous company where I worked, I told one of my colleagues to say, no, I think I want to be an architect, a solutions architect. So I even used this Udemy account because he actually saw as I was using his Udemy account, he's like, you want to be a solutions architect? I'm like, yes. He's like, first of all, there's a few black solutions architects and forget about it because you're also a woman.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, oh, All right, but anyway, I continued as I did my job, and then I just did my research, and then I continued to just learn more about the role, what it does, and and I started working closely to a solutions architect,
Okay.
and then and then I applied, and then here I am.
So you just applied for a role.
I just applied for it, right? So obviously you need some years of experience in the field.
Okay.
At that point, I think I already had 12 years of experience. Now I have over 15 years of experience in tech.
Wow. Okay.
So you need quite some experience. But I just applied, and then I got the role.
so
and
just-
this was from in a different company as well. It wasn't even the company that I was working in.
Okay, and then just for my understanding and for those watching, right? So you're saying you need experience in the field, not necessarily solutions architect, the field of IT.
Yes, the field of IT in tech.
Oh, okay.
Because nobody starts. They start by being a solutions architect. It's one of those senior roles that you get into.
Great. So we've been like, we've always wondered how do people just get into it? Because I don't think you can go from varsity straight into it.
Yeah.
And I think this is where now we've seen just like older people in the role. That means it's people with a number of years of experience in the field. But okay, for those who are unfamiliar to what solution architect is, if you had to describe what you do, describe your role, how would you put it?
So what I do is I solve business problems using technology.
Okay.
Right? And how I do that is I design systems or system architecture. So it's more like designing a blueprint of applications.
Okay.
So there's a business problem, and then we want to solve it using tech. So instead of just going in and then just start coding, so as a solutions architect, you go in, you look at the different options. So you need to make sure that the application that the developers are going to build is efficient, it performs very well, it is secured. So through that architecture process, you need to look at the different technologies that you can use, and you need to look at trade-offs. Why would you use async integration instead of sync integration, right? Based on the problem that you are trying to solve.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's like when you're building a house where you have an architect, and then they first draw up the architecture, and then they give it to the developer to actually build the house. So it's similar to that.
Okay.
So you come up, you do a whole solutions architecture, and then you make sure that you looked at all the problems that are there and make sure that those problems are solved. And then once you've done with that, then you hand it over to the development team. Yeah.
And what challenges are there in this role? Because I'm hearing you talking, obviously, building blocks or blueprint. What are the challenges and how do you overcome them?
So mostly the challenges would be, there's different ways of solving a problem, right? So one of the most challenges is getting buy-in for the proposed solution that you have, right? Because you talk to the different stakeholders. So you talk to business, you talk to tech, so you need to understand from a business stakeholders' point of view, what do they care about, right? They care about value, they care about making money. And then you also need to look at what do developers care about. They care about working with the latest technology, so you need to make sure that you have a balance.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just with that, how do you know which one? Are you researching, or are you figuring out what the company is using?
So it's mostly research and understanding what the problem is, right?
Okay.
So it's mostly that, and then just talking to everybody. So you need to collaborate with a whole lot of people in this role. So you have to communicate very well and with a lot of people. So it's through listening, and you need to have good listening skills. It's through listening and understanding what the problems are that you get to understand, I need to maybe use this instead of that. And actually you also need to read a lot. So you need to understand technology. You need to understand why would you use MQ instead of REST API, for example. So it's very important that you understand the technology that's out there that you can use to solve the problem.
So basically you have to be technical for this role.
You have to be technical.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because this means maybe someone can't, I don't know, say convert or like go from being a business analyst to a solution architect because they might not have the technical experience in terms of like, you know, if you are talking MQ or REST APIs and all of those things. So do you think that you'd have to have a technical role if you want to migrate or?
Not necessarily, right? Because you get solutions architect in different areas, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, for example, you can be a solutions architect in the cloud. You can be a solutions architect in networking, in DevOps, in software engineering. So you don't necessarily have to be technical. So a business analyst can become a solutions architect.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Because I always thought...
Sounds very technical.
Yeah, we've always said solution architect like a people who know tech that well. You know, they know everything, the latest technologies, you know, how to integrate this with that. Wow, I didn't think maybe like you could go from a technical role to being a solution architect. And I also didn't know, you know, solution architect had many branches to it. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, you definitely could. You don't necessarily have to be a developer to be a solutions architect.
Okay.
Yeah.
And since you mentioned that obviously you can't, it doesn't seem like you can go from varsity to being a solutions architect. Are there certifications that maybe helped you that you can share that someone else can maybe look into to become a solutions architect?
Yeah, so there's different certification, and depending on what the company that you're working at use the different architecture models.
Okay.
But you don't necessarily need those certifications. They will help you as well. It's very important that you do, like you need to study, you need to learn, you need to understand what you're doing.
Okay.
But TOGAF is one of the biggest certifications in solutions architecture that is very, very helpful.
You said TOGAF.
TOGAF,
Yeah,
yes.
I've seen that.
I've seen it for business analysis. So
Yeah.
is it class based or is it just learning on your own and writing an exam?
Yeah, it's learning on your own, and then you can go write exams. You do have companies that offer training that you can go if you want to be in a class. They can offer training, and then but after that you need to go write.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this certification is just for solution architect or?
It's for architect as a whole. So
Okay,
it's because there's different kinds of architects. You have an enterprise architect, you have a business architect,
Okay.
you know. So it's,
Okay.
it's not necessarily for solutions architect, but architects
And
in the tech industry.
would you suggest that someone does that certification prior to getting the role, or should you have that in order to apply for the role?
It doesn't matter, honestly. So you don't have to have it to get into the role, but it's a good idea that you do have it, but you don't have to have it. So you don't have to limit yourself and say, I'm gonna have to get this before I apply. You know, apply if you understand the role.
Yeah.
You know, and you have the experience. Apply and see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you have the certification before you applied?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Interesting.
And then you also spoke about how you know, engage a lot with stakeholders and business people, and coming from being like a software engineer, you know, what they say about software engineers, they're introverts, they just focused on code, they don't speak to people, it's blast music and that is all. How did you go from, you know, being that person and then developing maybe like soft skills, and what soft skills do you think people would need to, you know, to ease into the role properly? Because I'm pretty sure you have to do a lot of communication and speaking and presentations.
Exactly, yes. A lot of presentation. I'm an introvert myself, so it was one of those I needed to work on. I remember as a developer, I never wanted to attend meetings.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do was sit and code. And then in this role, I'm always in meetings and presenting and engaging. So it's a matter of just, you must just know where you need to improve.
Okay.
And then you start working on that. So if you need to improve on communication, and then you just go, there's a lot of resources out there to learn how to communicate better and how to collaborate and how to listen, you know. So you can just learn about those things and then make sure that you apply them in the role.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that maybe as devs, we just need to like remove the stigma that we can't talk, because a lot of people that, we've had on the show have spoken about if they were devs and then they've moved to roles that needed them to speak, how they struggled. So I think maybe the sooner, you do it, especially if you have aspirations of moving forward up the career ladder or up the corporate ladder, you will be required to speak at some point. And I think, right now, whilst you're still coding, you're just hiding under.
Exactly. As you move into these strategic roles, you need to be able to collaborate and speak up.
Sure.
And just with that, the skills, right? How did you move from, how do you put it? They say we're so focused as developers, there's a focus on just getting the work done and nothing else. Like you don't see the bigger picture. Like how did you transition yourself from, I'm not just seeing code, but I'm seeing a much bigger picture because obviously you engaging business, you engaging developers and so forth.
Yeah. I think as a developer, what you do is you start understanding design. So you don't just do code. So you need to understand how design works.
All right.
And then before you code on your own, you can actually be your own application architect, right?
Okay.
Before you actually sit down, you've given a requirement, you can sit down and start designing it yourself, instead of just going in and start coding. So it's basically like planning your work and making sure that whatever code that you're going to write, it's going to be code that you'll be able to scale. It's going to be code that's going to perform very well. It's going to be code that is very secured. So you can start there.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you start working with your architects. If you are in a position where there are architects around you, use them. Use them. Ask them. Can I just can I ask them? Can I do a design for a specific component? You don't even have, because as solutions architect, you look at multiple components, right? So you don't look at specific, unlike where there's an application architect who would only look at the application that they're working with, right? Okay. So what you can do is you can maybe approach the architect who's there to say, can you guide me into designing for this application that I'm developing or that I'm working on?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Sounds like a nice plan.
And now, not only are you a female, you're black female in a very male-dominated, and even your ex-colleague or one of your colleagues said you won't make it because of your color and because of your gender.
Yeah.
Now, how are you finding being in that space? Because we already, women in tech as a whole in general is quite, tech is a male-dominated space. Now, solution architect on his own
is worse.
When I tell you, you're the only
You're the first
female.
Well, I know someone who's a junior who's so from a grad program. They it's like, I think it's with the right manager, right? So the manager was like, you know what? Let me guide you into the solutions architect role. So she's doing it as a junior, but it was because of
the manager.
But it's her and you only.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot. So how are you finding it? Like,
No, I like it. And just to talk to your point, so you need to have the right people around you. So I'm not just here on my own, right? There were people who were there who supported me, and there are still people who support me. Even in my team, I'm the only female, right? Because it's But I think because I've been used to, even when I was a developer, within each and every team that I worked in, I would find myself as the only female in there.
Okay.
So having the right team, people around me, I have the best teammates, right? Who are there, and I think they don't just support him because I'm female, but we just support each other. We have that what do you call, like, it's more like a nice tribe where we know we can bounce off ideas of each other. When I know I can rely on them, and they can rely on me. So it's having the right people. It's very important.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And are there any misconceptions like you face or you hear about being a solution architect?
Yes.
What are they?
Like, we just draw blocks. I just got there, draw blocks and then present blocks. There is thinking. It's a whole process that goes behind those blocks.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of presentation. It's just blocks. I'm like, how did they even come up with that?
So much that you like.
Yeah, sometimes it's too complicated. Okay.
Yeah.
So people just think you guys are just
Yeah, I
drawing.
just think it's just drawing, and
They don't know
How complicated it is.
yeah, it's quite complex, but it's doable.
Okay.
Honestly, it's doable, and anybody can do it
And
if they
then-
put their mind to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you also spoke about having the right people around you.
Mm.
So would you say you've had any mentors? Do you still have mentors? Are you mentoring anyone? Okay.
Yeah, no, I do have mentors. Mentors are very key because they allow you see your blind spots. They're able to guide you. So I do have multiple mentors, and then I also do mentor as well. Yeah.
Okay, just quickly speaking of mentorship, I think I've always like struggled maybe choosing or like finding
The right one.
the right one. Or besides that, let's say sometimes, okay, maybe I see someone and I feel like, okay, they are technical experience or them technically, I'd like to learn a lot. Maybe, you know, how they think, how they solve problems. But then also, it's also just like, but I can do it on my own. I think it's because maybe I've had a mentor and it didn't work well. We just never spoke. I asked her to be my mentor. And yeah, we just ended there. She's like, okay, sure. But then we never...
Yeah, because you need to pursue the relationship, right? So
Okay.
I don't even think you should be saying, can you be my mentor? I feel it's such an awkward thing, right?
Okay.
It must be like, yes, you can still ask somebody to be your
Yeah.
mentor, but I feel like it's more about relationship. So if you have a relationship with somebody, you don't have to force anything, right? So it's a matter of you identify this person they're doing something that I want to do, or they are good at a specific skill that I want to be good at. So it's a matter of spending time with them. So if it's in a work environment, you understand what they do, you ask questions. So you have to drive the relationship, especially if you're a mentee. You have to drive the relationship. You don't sit there and say, okay, show me how is it done. You need to show the interest. You know, you need to drive it. You need to ask the right questions, and you need to get their time as well. So it's actually up to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
Makes sense.
It does. It does. I don't know. I think maybe it's because I didn't want to feel like I'm pestering them. So I didn't want to be like, hey, I wanted to ask every now and then. So when she kept quiet, I was like, maybe she's not really interested. Let me just let it go.
I think for me, I think what I also haven't had the greatest experience with mentors, but with the one or two that do work, right? I think if you upfront know why you want to start this mentorship relationship, and then you identify someone who's either on the same path that you want to go to, and then what else? And then you drive, like you said, you drive it, you set up the meeting. So if you don't, then nothing happens if you don't set up the meeting.
Exactly. Like the mentors that I've had throughout my life, I've never really went to somebody and said, can you be my mentor?
Okay.
You know, it's a matter of, okay, identifying what they're good at, or it just happens organically as well. I work with somebody, they're more senior to me.
Okay.
And then I start learning from them. Can I help you with that project? What are you doing, you know? And some would actually on their own just decide they're mentoring you without you asking. So it's also from the other side as well, where somebody could just see the way you work, your work ethics, and they feel, you know what, I like how you work, and they feel like they can contribute to your career.
But then don't you also think, like, for someone who's never had a mentor and they don't know how to maneuver like this mentorship thing, or like how to having a mentor, it's difficult because they also don't know. Because like I said, I didn't know if I had to, you know, drive the relationship. I had to be the one to set up meetings and all of. So which is why we ghosted each other.
No, it's part of making bold moves, right? So
Okay.
as soon as you understand you need a mentor, then you need to understand you also need to step up. And stepping up means making bold moves. The worst thing that could happen is a no when you ask somebody a question.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So we've obviously in the beginning highlighted that you didn't know about tech. So now that you know about tech and the path that you took, right? So we've now got traditional routes. We've now got boot camps. We've got so many things happening. Would you still take the same route that you took in order to be a solutions architect? And for someone who maybe aspires to be a solutions architect, would you rather they take the traditional route or maybe any other route, honestly, that's out there?
Yeah, I think I will still take the traditional route,
Okay.
especially from the studying part as well. The course that I did, I studied computer systems engineering.
Okay.
So it basically had all fields of tech. Like it had networking, it had database administration, it had system analysis,
Okay.
it had programming, which we call coding these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it had those fields. So I was exposed to the different fields in tech. By the time I was done, I had a good understanding of what I wanted to do.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So I'll still take the right route, but it's not the only route. If you are disciplined and you are able to learn on your own, then yeah, you can still do that. And you can still get into the field and you can still get a job
Okay.
and have a successful career as well, and boot camps as well. I love boot camps because they accelerate
Yeah.
that process, you know, especially if you don't have the funds to go to school. They accelerate that process so quick. And the nice thing about boot camps, at the end of that, you not necessarily are guaranteed a job,
Yeah.
but they have relationship with companies. When you are done, they can actually recommend you to these companies.
Yeah, that's definitely
Yeah.
true. And now, someone maybe at home who wants to join the tech industry and possibly one day become a solution architect because maybe they listened to you and they thought, oh, this sounds very interesting. Because I feel like, because you don't code in solution architect,
I
right?
still code. You know, I
Really?
still code. Every
Really?
now I love coding. That's the thing.
So by choice.
It's by choice. You don't have to.
Okay.
It's by choice. You
In
don't have to.
in your role, you code as well, or is that freelance outside?
No. I don't do freelance. You can't
All
do
right.
freelance, yeah,
Okay.
because it will be conflict of
Oh, okay,
interest,
okay,
right?
okay.
So yeah, in my current role, every now and then I'd actually assist and then code when we don't have enough
Okay.
resources.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so this is you coding because you enjoy it and you just want
If
to.
there's no resources,
Yeah,
it's
if
not a must.
it's not a must. Oh, no,
Alright.
it's
Because
definitely not a must.
There are some people, maybe like someone's in a dev role, but they don't enjoy coding that
Coding.
much, and they still want to. They do enjoy tech, but they just don't like the stress maybe of coding or whatever. So they want to now move into a less coding role, technical, sure, but doesn't have to be coding. So you would suggest solution architect, right?
Yes, because or you can be a dev manager as well. So
Okay.
how I went with solutions, I got to a point to say, okay, cool, what's my next move? So, and dev manager was also one
An
of
option.
the options. As I was already, as a senior developer, I was already leading developers as well. So development manager is another role that you can go into as well. But I decided to go into, not into management, but into a specialized role, which is then the
Okay.
solutions architect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's pretty cool. And so someone at home, maybe young, well, I don't want to say girl, but young girl or boy who wants to, or who aspires one day to, be where you are. What advice would you give them?
Oh man, I think I would advise them to learn, right? To be curious.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So to be curious and just keep learning.
Yeah.
It's through learning that you actually get to understand what you want to do and you get to understand what you need to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
And if you were to speak to your 10-year-old self, what would you say to yourself?
Oh man. I would be kind to yourself. That's what I would say to myself, that you've got this.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No, good. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having
Been a
me.
wonderful conversation. I've learned a lot. I think I want to be a solution architect now.
Yes.
I also think so.
Yes, please. We
You've
need women, please.
You've inspired us. You've definitely inspired us. I think
And
I want to be a solution
yes,
architect.
please do, please.
And the documenting side of it.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of documentation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of there's a lot of documentation. There's a lot because you need to document your solutions. You really need to document your solutions, and when you do document, it's based on who you're gonna be speaking to. So I can't use the design that I'll be talking to a product owner or a CIO and then use it to talk to a developer. All right.
And how do you navigate that?
Exactly. Like, so, because also devs hate documenting work.
No, remove that hate in development, right? Because you already have the knowledge, right? It's already in your head. It's just a
putting
matter.
it on paper.
Yes, and writing code is documentation, by the way.
True.
Type away.
You know.
Oh man, documenting makes me wanna cry.
No, there's a lot of documentation.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh. Okay. I guess there's a lot of things I think as devs we need to learn and remove that stigma.
Exactly.
It's the being an introvert and shy and not wanting to talk to people. Documenting. I think we just need to step out of our comfort zone as devs and be out there and document your work. Step number 1, document your work.
Exactly. Start by documenting what you're doing.
Yo, like there's documentation I've been putting off for so long.
It's quite a thing. I know we were wrapped up already, but are there any networking events specifically for solutions architects?
Not necessarily. So as long as it's a tech a tech conference, right?
Okay.
Then it should be fine. There isn't one that I've attended where it's specific. Oh, actually, I did attend one last year. There is one that I did attend. Actually, there is an industry solutions architect conference. They do. So the different financial institutions will host one, and then the next year, then it will be another financial institution.
Okay.
Yes, there is one.
When does that happen?
It happens around April.
Is it?
Yeah.
And is it only for people in solutions architect, or is it open to any person in the IT space?
It's specifically an architecture conference, but it's open to everyone.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think we've spoken a lot about how networking is important.
Yes.
So probably that's another thing. You might meet your next job or prospective manager there,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a conference I wanted to attend until I saw some conference. You see, like the summit, the AWS summit was free, which is why everyone was there.
Some of them, the cost.
There's cost. Yes, the data fest. I wanted to go to a data fest, and so now I register, right? And then this lady calls me. So in my head, I'm like, so you call everyone who registers? She's like, oh no, I saw you registered. So I'm like, yeah, but I saw you calling everyone because there's probably going to be a lot of us. And she said, I'll just send you the price list. And I'm like, price list? And she said, it's 10,000 Rand for 2 days. I was like, you know what, ma'am? Wrong target. Sorry. Wrong target market. Not me. Not me. Sorry. I can't. I didn't know some of them you pay. I was shocked.
Some things are expensive. Even
because I also saw like the agenda, right, that was posted there, and I saw like the people that were going to be there. Was like, oh, there's so many important people. CEO of ESCOM is going to be there. CIO of, they put like the companies, all the banks were there. And I was like, okay, you can.
This is good.
Yeah, this is good. You can go and introduce yourself there and say, hi, I'm the so-and-so.
And then the cost.
And then the cost, I was like, okay, now it makes sense. Now it makes sense why people have to pay for this.
I wonder why some of them are so expensive, because there was also a bank networking event for women. The price, I'm like, I guys.
But yeah, usually it's more like a corporate price where you can actually ask the company you work for to actually sponsor you as part of your development or your learning path.
Okay.
Yeah,
We should try that.
you can try that. Bold moves.
Yes. If they say no, it's okay. I'll attend another year.
Yeah, the worst they can say is no,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't know. I'll see. I'll see. I'll see.
That's cool. We're good. We're good.
Good.
All right. Thank you so much again for coming through, Sibongile, and thank you for the wealth of knowledge that you've brought. Because, firstly, there are so little of you. We don't see you guys. Thank you for coming through and being able to share with us about this field. And I'm sure the people out there have learned so much. I've learned a lot. So yeah, with that, we wrap it up. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like, share, subscribe. Don't forget, just watch the video to the end always. Just help our numbers, but most importantly, learn from the beginning to the end. And thank you for joining us. And with that, it's goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.